The year is coming to a close, and we need your help. It's time for Clash of Concerns 2017. Go to wehaveconcerns.com/clash and vote on your favorite episodes for each month of 2017 as we try to find the greatest episodes of the year. wehaveconcerns.com/clash.
And don't realize that either of them is legit.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
That sketch is our lives. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Story today sent in by... It's impronounceable. And it's not impronounceable. I'm not saying that in like a closed off to other cultures racist way, like I normally say things like this, being the terrible closed off racist person that I am. This is just a combination of letters and numbers that's seemingly random on Reddit, but I can give it a shot. It's like U-Ban that is a 0 and a PQ. Let me tell you something.
You nailed it. I think you nailed it.
Let me tell you something. If this person sends in like just one more story that we use,
they get a nickname.
They get a nickname just because I can't.
And it's Joe.
It's like Joey Normal name.
Joey Normal name.
It's old Joey Normal name. Jeff, have we ever talked about death?
I think we have constantly.
Like, really?
It's your favorite topic, Anthony.
Like we have
all the time. Like most of the time I talk to you, it's about death.
Have we ever done it? I cannot recall doing it.
I'm almost never not talking about death when we're talking.
Huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do it again.
Okay.
This is fascinating. The director of critical care and resuscitation research.
Oh, God.
At the NYU Langone School of Medicine.
Pressing job.
How did
it go?
My alma mater.
How did it go resuscitating people today? Not good.
By my alma mater, I mean I lived in New York, and I used to get pizza by NYU.
All right.
Yeah.
But other than
it counts. I have an NYU sweatshirt.
Yeah, of course you do.
I stole one from their fancy gift shop where all the fancy kids think they're so smart.
Yeah, that'll show them. I have your sweatshirt now.
Really, literally, the only way anyone has to prove that they went to a college is the sweatshirt.
Yeah, I still have my college sweatshirt because what if
What
if somebody asks for my diploma?
What if you apply for a job?
That's right.
You have to have your college sweatshirt. Otherwise, how are people going to know?
There's no way.
There's no way of knowing. This is a total digression, but there was a thing, there was a study and an article a couple weeks ago about how literally no one checks anyone's credentials when they're applying for jobs.
Right, yeah.
Like literally no one. Like no one has ever, I mean, I'm sure in certain jobs they do.
Right.
But most of the time you could just like walk into a job interview and be like, yeah, that's me. A doctorate.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Me.
Biochemical engineering.
Really?
Yeah.
That's me. Biochem. What was your focus on? More the bio than the chem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I lean a little more towards the natural side.
Did you get your diploma framed when you graduated? Were you one of those people?
From high school or college? Because I'll tell you what, I don't have a college degree.
You don't have one at all?
I don't have a college degree.
You didn't graduate from college?
Did not graduate from college. It's me, science reporterman.
Yes, that's right. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, never graduated.
Huh.
Went to many, many colleges. They all seemed wonderful.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. No, transitioned into acting and hosting and stuff and was just like... What am I going to use this?
Them.
No,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, this seems like I'll just keep sinking money into the ground.
Why you got that NYU sweatshirt?
Yeah, so I just grabbed the sweatshirt.
Same thing. So tip out there for all the kids.
But now I tell people that I studied acting at NYU Tisch. Because that way, because I have the sweatshirt.
Right.
So see, kids, you can fake a credential in anything.
Invest in textiles. And by textiles, I mean the sweatshirt of the college you wish you went to.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I mean, I don't know anybody that has their degree like on their wall or whatever.
I have mine framed and it's under my bed.
Yeah.
I got it framed. I think my parents got it framed as like a graduation gift. I'm not hanging that in my house.
No, what does that say about you?
You know,
I feel like that's like wearing your high school class ring.
Yeah.
You know,
or
like
your Letterman jacket.
Or your Letterman jacket. Like, man, we were just talking about hello, fellow teens, but like, dude, if you are an adult,
You know, the only place...
you're just like, what's up? I'm wearing my high school ring. And you're like, no, you're not, because I can't deal with that.
Right.
If you are,
That's
I
a
don't
bad
know
thing.
what to do with this, about this relationship and conversation.
throws everything out of whack. The only place I've ever seen a diploma on a wall is in a CPA's office.
Yeah, or like my therapist has many degrees on the wall. They could all be fake. It doesn't
who knows?
matter to me.
Everybody's got a printer.
Everybody's got a printer.
Yeah.
You remember that old children's book about forgery? This has nothing to do with that.
So death.
We're going to talk about death.
Oh, good.
Here's what's up. When you die, you are aware that you're dead because consciousness continues to work after the body has stopped showing all signs of life.
Okay, so I remember hearing something on the lines of, like, you can still detect brain waves after you've been legally pronounced dead, et cetera, et cetera. But how do we know that you know you know? You know?
Well, this gentleman, his name is Sam Parnia, Dr. Sam Parnia, as far as we know.
He had the sweatshirt.
They were looking at people who suffered cardiac arrest, technically died, and were later revived. So this is the largest type of this study ever carried out. And so what they did was they basically asked people about their experience during their actual time of being legally deceased.
Right. Like a Jacob's Ladder flatliner situation.
It was mostly a flatliner situation. Turns out 57% of the people that died and came back are being chased by a childhood regret or fear. Something they feel guilt over is now visiting them in a corporeal form. That's only 55%.
Some sort of demon warriors. They've all turned into demon warriors.
Yeah. It's just a kid with a hockey stick, but like an angry one.
Yeah, you got to get him.
I don't know if that was in the remake, but hello, fellow teens.
The remake hasn't even come out yet, has it? Or has it?
I don't know.
I
thought it came and went already.
I believe they made a remake of that.
Anyway, death. So they studied people, and they say that they had awareness of full conversations and being aware of things that were going on after they were pronounced dead. And then they went to the attending nurses and medical technicians and got like transcripts or recollections of what happened from them, and they matched up. So basically these people were like, oh, I heard, we always hear these stories of like, oh yeah, I was dead, but I heard the doctors working on me, and I heard family screaming my name, and I came back. And it's like, we've often ascribed that to some sort of supernatural experience, but it turns out that after corroborating this information with medical technicians, it's just like, oh no, you're just dead, and you know that you're dead. Yeah.
So this reminds
death needed to be a little more scary.
Yeah. This reminds me of a lot of the research that you read nowadays about comas as well, where there's much more understanding that people in comas are getting sensory input from the outside world and are able to process it, but they're sort of trapped in their situation.
Yeah.
And there was a story just recently of a person that was in a coma for many, many years, and they just brought them back, and now he's able to communicate using eye blinks.
Oh yeah.
And basically has confirmed that he was there the whole time, heard everything.
Oh God, yeah.
Fucking terrifying.
There was I think it was a This American Life many years ago, but it was about a guy who was catatonic, and his parents were like taking care of him and stuff, and like he was fully aware for years. So and could feel things and could hear things, and like had to slowly sort of like kind of bring himself back into being able to like physically move and stuff like that, and physically experience things.
Have you ever seen The Diving Bell and the Butterfly?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that movie fucked me up.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
That movie made you feel like you were in that experience.
And imagine that movie based on a book that he wrote that way.
Right. Yeah. With blinking. He wrote it by blinking. Craziness.
Yeah. So this is kind of weird. So just so we know the parameters of what we're talking about here, death is defined at the point at which the heart no longer beats and Death is defined at the point at which the heart no longer beats and blood flow to the brain is cut off. So technically that is how you get the time of death. It's based on the moment when the heart stops, and once that happens, blood no longer circulates to the brain, which means brain function halts almost instantaneously. You lose your brainstem reflexes, gag reflex, pupil reflex, all that stuff. However, there is now evidence to suggest that there is a burst of brain energy as someone dies, which is causing this like last minute.
It's a soul leaving the body, Anthony.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
What is it, 21 grams?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
That's right. All the movies.
21 grams.
Does this make you more frightened of death?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is fucked up.
Oh, hell
this is
yeah.
some fucked up shit. This is the fact that you get a moment of realization.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Are you telling me on top of everything, at the very last moment I get oh, fuck, I'm dead.
Yeah. And you are powerless to express it. You're just inside a prison of your own fear.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's what's up, Jeff. I always thought it would be that way. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, oh, you go off peacefully and like it's, I don't know that they even knew at the end and blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, they knew, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I knew they knew. And I know that I'm going to know. And I know that you're going to know. I knew it. I knew it the whole time. Basically, this activity, these electrical signals in the brain. Are you ready to know how they studied this, Jeff?
They killed people.
They flatlinered some rats.
Oh, poor rats, dude. Those rats are going to be chased by little rats with hockey sticks for the rest of their lives.
Tiny angry bullies, like tiny angry rat regrets. Physicalized.
Oh, that time that they didn't get the cheese.
It's just a wheel chasing them. Just like I didn't run on the wheel enough, and now I regret it.
Now the wheel's running on me.
Yeah. That's also, I think, Buddhism.
Yeah.
The theory of the wheel running on you.
You'll return.
It's an Alan Watts thing, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, they anesthetized some rats, gave them a heart attack.
and then a real detailed interview afterwards.
Yeah, just a tiny...
How did that feel,
tiny little rat. Emilio Estevez was there. Was it Emilio Estevez?
I think so.
I think it was
definitely
Julia Roberts.
Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah. But anyway, they saw activity patterns which were linked to this hyper alerted state after a brief period of death.
And the rats seemed to say something along the lines of "fuck."
Yeah, why? So this hyper alert state could be linked, and they don't go off into this so much in the article, but this could be linked to these last moment out of body experiences or feelings of like, this to me sounds like, and these are completely, this is just my own experience.
From flatlining
a lot of people and just asking them questions. So, I mean, it's just my personal information that I have. It's not, my sample size is not big enough because I just don't get to flatliner enough people. Well, I do. It's the bringing them back.
That's the hard part. Too many people, when you want to offer to flatline them, ask to see your diploma.
Yeah, and I'm just like, who has a diploma?
Nobody. Look at my sweatshirt.
Look at my sweatshirt. It says Doctor of Life and Death from Life and Death University.
A little picture of Julia Roberts.
Yeah. No, this to me sounds like when people discuss, I had this feeling I was floating over my body and I could hear and see everything the doctors were doing. I think about that, and I think about the experience of sensory deprivation, like a sensory deprivation tank, or like any of that stuff. And I kind of put it together in my head, and I'm like, oh, well, these stories make a lot of sense now. Your brain gets cut off from all of the input that it recognizes.
Yeah, but it's still conscious.
Instantly, but is still kind of conscious and is trying to piece together a narrative of what's happening to it.
Yeah.
Almost like a shock or something, like a state of shock or something like that. And so it's like, oh, of course you felt like you were floating above it and you can hear and see it because your brain is still taking in this input even after we thought it wasn't.
But let me pitch maybe a Pollyanna view of this. As is my want.
None of us are ever going to die?
What if we don't? No. Because, you often hear the same people express it as a very peaceful feeling, a very serene feeling, what if that explosion of energy and activity in the brain is a euphoric feeling? What if it isn't panic? What if it isn't a feeling of, oh my God, fuck, I'm going to die. Now I'm aware of it. I can't do anything about it and I'm dead. What if it's like, a release, a positive? What if we can take solace in the fact that our brain gets a moment to be at peace before it ceases to be?
I mean, I know this isn't our spooktacular Halloween episode, but we'll find out. We're going to know.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah, especially with all of the fumes that are leaking into this room right now. We'll probably find out real soon.
I'm going to get that fixed. I said it as a question. And the reason I said it as a question is because that way you can't come back to me later.
Yeah.
When the gas line does cause issues for us.
You mean post life come back to you and haunt you? And
yeah. Or
I can't come back later.
You can't come back and be like,
you said it as a question.
You said you were going to fix it. No, I said I'm going to fix it.
But I told you that you would do it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be too. I mean, there is a thing that when we get injured or something like that, our body tends to release adrenaline and morphine in equal measures. Right. That kind of puts us into a state like that.
So maybe this is something to be encouraged by and say, oh, well, at least in that last moment, my brain goes, instead of,
Yeah. Here's why I don't think that.
Because you're you?
Sure. Number one, obviously. But number two, the fact that the level of awareness that these people have of what was going on around them does tell me that, yeah, like maybe, I don't know, it might be like sucking on the oxygen mask that falls down when the plane is crashing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, you're a little more docile about it, but I think you do know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems to say like, oh yeah, these people do know that they're dying. Whether your brain is releasing a lot of chemicals, and like, who knows how much you're feeling those chemicals that your brain is releasing. Once again, there's no blood flow through the body. So physical sensation, like all that stuff kind of shuts down.
Can I ask you something? This is a bit of a digression real quick too.
It's almost like sci-fi brain in a jar.
Yeah. Which is, something I've always wanted.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a bit of a digression, but I was having this conversation just the other night with a bunch of people, and we were talking about getting mad and getting in arguments, and somebody was telling a story about being in an intense argument.
I never get in arguments.
Right.
I will never get in an argument.
Yes, you will.
No. I am cool, man.
And they were talking about being so heated, and this was fueled by alcohol, as usually the case.
Sure.
But getting so heated that they got into a state where they were sort of watching themselves from the inside going,
oh,
why am I behaving this way?
Yeah.
That guy's an asshole, and then still continuing to do it.
And when they're drunk, or the discussion came up because you were drunk?
The discussion came up because they were drunk, but they've described it as being not necessarily tied to alcohol, but like getting into an extreme state and going, I'm behaving in a way that I don't even like, but I can't do anything to stop it.
It usually comes from a mix of...
never experienced that.
A mix of anger and fear and embarrassment in equal measure.
But it's like you stepped outside of yourself for a second and you're watching that person and you're going, the fuck is that person doing?
Well, that's the thing is you kind of like, you feel cornered and you double down. Right. And as you're yelling and doubling down, there is that little voice in your brain that's just like, oh no. Oh,
Have
no.
You've had that?
Oh yeah. Not as much recently. I'll say that like lately, over the last couple of years, I think kind of just maybe a mix of just like marriage and getting older and mindfulness practice and stuff like that. Yeah. That tiny little voice that tells you when you're being irrational tends to get like a little louder and a little more noticeable.
Yeah.
And you tend to be able to act on it a little easier.
Yeah.
But I certainly remember times, especially when I was younger, of like going off into a rage and just being like, oh no, I'm going to feel so embarrassed by this later. And just that thought actually caused me outwardly to get even more embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because just knowing that what I was doing was going to be an embarrassment later made me go, oh shit, I got to stop this from being an embarrassment later. And your lizard brain's way of doing that is just to like fight even more.
Yeah, even my wife has described like when she was pregnant and the hormones are going crazy. This feeling of like, I'm behaving in a way I do not like, but I can't stop it. But I'm aware of like, I'm being completely unreasonable right now, and I'm aware that the hormones were involved in it, but also continuing that behavior.
Yeah.
And then later on being like, I'm so sorry, I don't know who that person was.
I think, I think also there are some pills I take that make me more aware of these situations as well.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, if I haven't been on my medication for a couple days, I'm like, this is not how I would act if I was on my medication. Yeah. And just hearing that voice in my head makes me pivot.
Yeah.
And like kind of be like, okay, this is how I would act if I was on my medication. Let's be this guy. And then kind of go back and then, get back on my medication.
And this is what you hear from a lot of people who meditate. And one of the reasons I wanted to get into meditation is this understanding that you aren't you. Like there's no, like the things, you're an observer of you.
Yeah.
You're like performing a you.
There are a collection of systems. And we've talked about this. And I think I know what you're getting at in respect to what we're talking about here. But it's like, if you look at your kid right now, your kid's about a year old.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing like kids have to learn is that the world ends and they begin.
Right.
They have to learn that boundary, self and other, right?
Yeah.
They have to learn object permanence. They have to learn all these things. And it's like, as your kid keeps getting older, there will be a point in time, probably around when your kid is like 7 or 8, where your kid is like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm connecting the fact that I feel horrible to the fact that I'm hungry. Whereas like when you're a kid, those emotions run wild and you don't know that you're hungry or you're tired or whatever. And I think if you are continuing your evolution, your personal evolution as a human, that awareness should only get hyper aware. Like we've talked before about like, oh, when I get a chest cold, it also feels a little bit like sadness or anxiety.
Yeah.
And so my body wants to make me feel sad or anxious.
Right.
And I have to tell my body, no, we're cool.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of mucus in our lungs. So I guess what you're getting at is like, there's something about this system in your brain acting independently while the rest of your systems are shutting down. Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of how I'm relating it is this question of consciousness and going, okay, death is happening and your brain going, I'm separate from that in a moment, like I am observing it, or, these people talking about rising above their bodies, or the kinds of experiences you hear detailed by people that have gone through it. It seems like this weird detachment that happens, that there's an otherness from your consciousness and the thing that's happening to you.
I think it's weirdly interesting and kind of rad. I love the idea that when it all ends, when it all goes down, we are going to have this moment where we are going to be able to feel like a computer shutting down, or like the closing procedures of like a restaurant or a coffee shop or like some retail location, where it's like, okay, first thing you do is like you shut down the till and you lock it and you lock the safe, and then you turn on the alarm, and then you shut off the lights, and like, it's going to be kind of neat to feel that and be like, oh, that's what that system on its own feels like. I know now because that system is gone. Like that's kind of dope in a way.
I like that hopeful view of it. I think we both.
Oh, it's not a hopeful view.
We just don't want it to be
an interesting
panic,
way.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want it to feel like this last moment of panic before you die, because that just sounds so unpleasant.
Yeah. It's described as a rush of brain activity. And I would think that means whatever a rush of brain activity means about you as a person throughout your life, right?
You're just like supremely you at the end.
Well,
you're just like intensely yourself.
What I mean is when we're talking about the fact that a pain in my chest makes me feel like I'm anxious, even if I have a chest cold, right?
Yeah.
Like, or I'm the sort of person who responds to something like this in anger, and I never learned to diffuse that or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this sort of interesting thing without being spiritual or religious. It is this interesting thing to know that in the very last moment, there is going to be this physical thing that happens to you. Mm-hmm. And probably the way you react to this physical thing will have to do with who you are emotionally and personality wise at the end. Somebody who is a supremely positive, calm person will probably feel that activity at the end as something like,
This is how you interpret it.
Yeah, the light or the floating or something like. You know what I mean?
So get your shit in order, people.
Get your shit in order. Fake it till you make it. Be happy. Be happy. One day we'll all be dead.
Start interpreting everything as a positive.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need that.
You're going to need that skill. There's only one moment where you're going to need it, but it feels like you're really going to need it. This is super interesting, and I'm sorry if I threw anybody into an existential crisis.
But you knew what you were signing up for.
And by I'm sorry, I mean it's been a while. And just remember what this show is.
Yeah.
We're going to throw you in an existential crisis every once in a while.
That's our We Have Concerns promise.
That's it. Every once in a while, just a paralyzing existential crisis. But then we'll probably follow it up with like, animals do crazy things.
Oh, man.
So be prepared for that episode next. Some serious bird pranks, some real octopus jokes coming your way. Don't think about death until next time, which is our 500th episode.
Hey, 500 reasons not to think about death.
Yay!
Or sometimes do.